Hello. I had to stop my stream of Crusader Kings 3 because I forgot to turn on like the safe kid watching whatever, and it showed boobs. I hate boobs. No, I don't hate boobs. But YouTube doesn't like boobs. Right? Alright, let us eat some cinnamon toast. I need to... That's not the one. We need some background music. Oh my goodness, I don't have Chrome open. It's like the first time that's ever happened.
Megan Boswell's in the news again. This is our second video we've got. You don't have to watch the first one, but when you get finished here, you might want to watch it because we talk about some different things in there.
Oh,
but this is her
I need to
interrogation.
check and see.
Greg, tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
Yeah, more than an interrogation.
Please
We're going to do
allowed.
something a little different this time. We're going to start
I am
with
going to be
the first
listening
video
to the
from
behavior panel.
one of our last videos where we will discuss what we saw in general to go throughout. We will move to another video clip where she is interviewed by the local TV station, and from there we'll move into the interrogation, let you watch things develop from there, and then at the very end we're going to leave you a clip to put some notes down in the bottom for us and let us know what you're seeing and what changed in that entire video.
If you could do this all over again, is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah, I probably called the first day. I should have. But I just didn't want them to run with her. Like they have now.
Did you ever expect them to run with her?
I knew that if anything really happened and anybody got involved, they probably would.
Can you tell me why she was with them if you were worried about this?
They were watching her for me while I went to work.
Okay. So it was like a babysitting type childcare situation?
Yeah.
But you thought they might run with her?
No, until they took her, no. Then after that, I was like, well, if anything happens somewhere, they will run with her. And to be honest with you, I won't lie, I didn't know how good the team was up here, and if I did, I would have called the second that I realized. They are very good, like I said. They are doing everything they can, and I'm very confident in that. And that makes the situation a lot easier.
This sucks. They're going to find my ass
Now, that's
out.
not the videos, the set of videos we're going through. That's from last week, just so the viewer understands that. So what do you guys think?
This had one of my favorite incongruent pieces of body language in history when she talks about how much easier they're making it and shows disgust at the same time. Love that. Just incompatible.
This is a
Yeah.
textbook
I was figuring
example
they're so good,
of
damn it.
lack of contractions, non-contractions. You hear like, I think 4 or 5 in this clip, and you're going to see such textbook deception. And what's funny for her is a lot of her behavior is a little more locked down than most people. So this is a great chance for us to do that. How do we analyze deception in a statement?
The reason I think it's so locked down is because she has a protocol she follows when she starts lying. I'll talk about that when we get into this other thing, but last time we picked that up, it didn't come up. But in this, you can see it, man. She has a specific set of tools she uses when she does that. What are you going to say, Mark?
Yeah, so I'm going to give a shout out to all the panelists and the Grizzlies who showed up last week. It was great to see you all there, new friends. Obviously, panelists are always our friends. We love to see you. But these new Grizzlies showed up. And remember, I had this hypothesis about this cough laugh that she does, which seemed to be positive. Cough laugh that she seems to do. Yeah, and I said, look, you know, write down below whether these behaviours fit the hypothesis that it is potentially stress from a tell. In this case here that we just saw in that video, that cough laugh, I should have called them the first day. She wasn't the person to call. Apparently other family members called. On other things like the carrots and the fruit kind of cup, that was all, the kid wasn't allergic to carrots at all, apparently, so that was deceptive. And there's some issues with food and just leaving the kid with food. Anyway, I only learned that because panelists and Grizzlies were putting it down in the comments. So thank you for somewhat, maybe entirely, proving the hypothesis that the cough laugh is a deceptive tell. Greg, you were going to say something.
Yeah, here's a beautiful thing we're going to see in this. We hear people say all the time, body language isn't something X, Y, or Z. None of us think body language is magic. We think it is a tool that indicates areas to dig and attack. Hang in there. You're going to see why that matters in this set of videos.
Yeah, you know what? I've watched Grizzly maybe 4 or 5 times over the past few years. I wasn't aware of how deep she goes into that stuff.
Oh yeah.
You guys gotten into that?
I haven't seen it. I'll go and check it out. Yeah.
You gotta go check it out, man. You gotta go check it out. Because you'll go, oh man. So we should have her on here.
Yeah, for sure. She's the reason we're doing this video. She asked me a couple of weeks ago to look at the video. She sent us a compilation. So yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Well, let's if she'll do it. You know, if you want to come on, we'll have you on and we'll do it. You can do a show with us if you want to.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's look at the first one.
So, let's get into the last time you saw her. Tell me what that time was like and when that was.
Well, actually, I want to talk about that. I've told TBI where to find her in Mendota. My mom took her to a campground and a silver camper, and if they don't go tonight, I'm going to go find her myself. Because I've told them, and they're not really, like, taking it seriously, and if they don't go tonight, like, I will go myself and go get her.
Tell them why. Shoot their mouth.
Don't get in.
Yeah. Sign it, Bob. No, you need to defend yourself.
That's all they need to know. Quit.
They already know, Megan.
So let's kind of go back into.
Sorry.
Tell me about the last time though that you saw Evelyn. So tell me what you guys did and when that was.
We went to go out to eat, and then my mom came and got her. She was wearing a little hot pink tracksuit with a matching bow, little matching shoes.
And was this December 20, like right after Christmas?
A little bit before Christmas.
So this was before Christmas. Okay.
The trees grow.
So tell me what you know about her situation. Obviously, you just revealed that you know she's where your mom took her. So tell me what all you know past situation.
That's really all I know. My mom, like you can ask her, is a very vindictive, manipulating person, and she basically like threatened me the whole time that she was gone. She was like,
Chase, what do you got?
Oh, right.
At the behavior panel, our goal is to help you see behind the surface, to spot deception and analyze the true intent behind people's words. It is a mission that I personally feel strongly about, especially in today's bias and overwhelming media landscape. And mainstream media tends to blur the truth and make it really hard to see through the chaos. This is why all of us are proud to have Ground News as a sponsor. They help readers look beyond the mainstream narratives and uncover the patterns in the way that today's news really spins and frames the issues that are going on, or even just fails to cover them in the first place, like they don't even talk about it. So for every story that you read on their app or their website, you get instant access to every outlet that's reporting on that thing. On top of that, there's a breakdown of each source's political bias. For instance, you get this report of how subjective their reporting tends to be. And if they're independently owned Are they funded by
let's make it
corporations
just for the
or
humans.
governments? Are they getting their money from somewhere that's influencing what they're saying to you? So ground
Let's
news
make
really
some
helps
land
you see
just
the
for the
subtle ways that the
humans.
media can very heavily shape our public opinion. I'm not even immune to it
I
after
am
studying
going
all
to
this
pull
psychology
up
stuff, and it's good to be able to see behind the curtain.
Stream
I'm actually in the process of writing a book. It's almost
to
done
see
on
if
media brainwashing, and I think they're one of the most
the
practical
audio
solutions that
why
I have
I
ever
talk like
seen.
this.
So check it out by
To see
scanning
if the audio
this
is
QR code or go to
okay.
ground.news/TBP. Our viewers get 40% off unlimited access, whether you subscribe for yourself or it's a gift for somebody. Ground News is independent and subscriber funded.
Elon
not
Musk
by any
and the
special
Doge team
interest.
give
So by
behind the scenes look
subscribing,
at their mission.
You're not only just getting a great product, you're directly supporting our work here
This
at the
country
Behavior
is
Panel.
in
So
trouble.
when you're describing where your baby was dropped off,
In Bonnie.
how many parents
Bonnie Rubble.
would tell you
Trouble.
where their baby is by describing the color of the camper or the house? None. Zero. They'd be saying details of the people who had the child, not the color of the house.
Everything sounds
She has
good.
no emotion here. It's about her missing child, and she's waiting on the police to go get her,
Sounds
like
good,
they're an
sounds good.
Uber service. Just from this one little piece, there are indicators she knows
Over here,
there is no
we're
child to
gonna
pick up
have-
at all at that place. Her emotions are socially driven here, and she's smiling about the
Just
curse
the
word on
infernal
camera and
biome.
asking them to edit that out with a
Just
big
that.
smile. It's socially
So
driven
these guys
behavior.
are gonna
Her,
have to be
her motivations are
fireproof
social and not
humans.
towards the child. So just seeing this, there's either no problem with her baby whatsoever, or she knows the baby's not there at all. One of those two things. So she's describing the outfit because she has no idea what to say. It's completely fabricated. When someone's child
They
goes
are
missing, they
fireproof.
describe the outfit
And that's all.
unless they know where the baby is. They describe the location and the people. She's mirroring what she's seen from other
And
missing
they're
child
shiny.
parents on television. So she's trying to assert her child has been taken, but deciding
I
to
unlocked a
defame her
couple of
mother
these
instead, which is
cold
the
aura.
fifth huge red flag here in
Be
this one
healing
clip.
aura. Restores
And
health and
when there's
cures
a
plagues of
perpetrator,
creatures
a
around
person
it.
concentrates on the perpetrator.
Almost
So a
forgot
person
all of these.
concentrates on them alone, and if the focus is not on the victim or the perpetrator,
me a
there's
taste so
very
good.
unusual amounts of attention paid to other details that do not matter here,
Fireproof.
which is a giant
Fire
problem.
blood.
The details she's
Makes
giving
sense,
us are
you
not
know?
the right details. They're not about the thing that's
And
important.
they're tough.
Greg,
Yeah, this one's got so much in it. This is remember, this is her
Human.
second, I believe, TV interview. The first one was the yellow shirt. Then this one, by now she has her story, whatever her story's going to be. The creepy part of this and the setup is that's her best friend's mother that is talking to her. And she is near her best friend's grave where she had the opportunity to do this interview. Of all places I might not do it's that, but I have a feeling this woman may have
they-
a couple of interesting things. I'm no psychologist, I would say. What I found is that
I
people
didn't
that
know
have
that the
borderline
infernal
personality
biome
often are really good at plugging into
created
what you need. And
like
that
a
doesn't mean that
fire
every person has
guys
borderline personality manipulates
that are
people.
immortal.
But when that dark side of a person is combined with that, they're usually really good at manipulation. And that plugging in, I've seen more than
Who
one time, and I
changed
can
him?
see it here.
I didn't.
So that part's really interesting.
Oh.
Jodi Arias was a good example of
Gave
that.
him
Whatever you need
fireproof
for
and
her to
fire
say, she
blood.
would say. And it didn't matter if she just said something else differently
kill
just a
him.
few minutes before. So we'll see that. Interestingly, she says, well, actually, when they ask her a question about when was the last time you saw a child, well, actually,
Kill
I want to
that
answer that. Well, clearly you don't. You want to talk about something else because she chaffs and redirects immediately to what she told the police. Has nothing to do with the last time she saw her child. When I say chaff and redirect, I mean like an aircraft spraying
those?
garbage out the back end, flares and all kinds of things that draw missiles, and cause those missiles to direct
Infernal
off another
biome,
location. That's what we're seeing here
corrupted
with her
biome,
saying that about talking to her
wonder
mother. So it's chaff and
corrupted one.
redirect. Listen to that
Trying to
up
branch
that little
out here.
up lilt as she's talking, and she's
Into
saying, "I told the
different
police."
things.
We don't hear that any other time. She's fishing. Her forehead is up in what I call request for approval. You see that forehead up when she's saying, "I told the police," if you have a little kid and the little kid is trying to tell you a story, you'll see them with their brow up, waiting to see. Doesn't mean they're always lying. They're waiting for approval. She shouldn't be waiting for approval at this time. She should be just telling. Really interesting. And then she says,
dude, these guys
if I
would
knew-
never
if
be
they don't
able
go
to
get her, I'll go
read
get her.
me.
Okay, so after 2 months, you're going to be urgent. Come on.
They'd have to.
This is
they'd have
really, really,
tough
really
time
stupid.
finding my
She's working
baseline.
that mother of the friend
They'd
pretty
be
hard.
like, he's
And
looking
you
for
see,
approval.
For the first time,
in
guys, you always know I say I don't see
everything.
micro expressions because my eyes just don't
Forever.
work that way. Something changes in her brow right there and gets really tight and a wrinkling of the
This
eyes.
is
as she goes,
a mod, or
her
not a
mom came
mod, like a
to
cheat.
get her. That's really interesting.
You
And then,
go to
Jason, with
settings, the
she has all
settings
passion of
wheel,
a catalog as she
down
describes
here.
this kid. You know, I have cars, old
You
cars.
go to
And I've got
settings
a palette
again,
catalog,
and
you
there's a
flip there, it says,
burger up
"These are
here,
rich
and you just
leather
click it a
toned
dozen
seat
times.
covers." That's about like saying bright pink jumpsuit.
And then
And
there's
it's
a bug.
about that much passion. Just an
Debug
awful,
tools.
awful
Fast
job
spawn.
all the way around. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so look,
These are the ones I typically
Greg has
use.
given you a
do
litany
not know
of
what.
indicators there of stress and some other issues as well. Of course, we all
Visualize
know
which is
there are
updated.
no single indicators that can
Greg?
tell
This
you
is
that
Greg.
anybody is
I don't
lying,
know
is being
what
deceptive.
that does.
There are indicators of all kinds of things, including stress, of which being deceptive, creating a story,
Pro
especially
leader.
when a crime's committed, is incredibly stressful for a human being to do. There are some human beings out there that are going to experience less stress in that situation.
Draw unit citizen
Still, it's pretty
jobs as
stressful for them,
icons.
just on a cognitive level, just on like making stuff up. If ever anybody has ever said to you, "Hey, make up a story that's never
interesting.
happened," suddenly you're going, "Oh, well, what kind of story do you want? I mean, what are you looking for?"
Could mess your
you're
game and
suddenly
crash it.
worried about the quality of your story, even when you're not, trying to get out of a crime. So it's stressful. And so we're looking often for those stress indicators and other things, and putting them together
Okay.
in groups, in clusters,
Cool.
as we call them.
It
Greg, I've
highlights
got
them with
many of the
pixels.
same that you have.
That's
There,
the
she
king.
frames her answer. Well, actually, there's lots
He's
of
not very
up
special.
talk, including that police, where she hits a level that I don't see in the baseline of her elsewhere. So
actually
there seems to
really
be a
not
lot of
special
peak
at
up
all.
talk there. Obviously, up talk is a cultural thing.
What is
Some
he, a
places in
human?
America, some ages,
I
of
need to
certain
know
people in
how-
America will up talk more than
think he's
others.
human.
It's one way of showing that you're part of the group to up talk. In fact, I would say it's a way of sharing power to do
Let's
up
give him a
talk,
little
so you're
boost.
never
He needs a little help.
oppressing anybody with your view. You're always asking for approval on your view. It's a great way
am
to make
always
sure you
asking
don't step
for
on anybody's
approval.
toes, and you can share
Giant,
power, and therefore
attractive giant.
teenagers.
Let's make him
will
fireproof
often
in
use
case he
up
goes over
talk
there.
in current America in order to
Generation
share power
tough.
a little bit. Anyway, what
He's a
else
genius,
do I see?
but he's evil.
I see the eyes in
And
shade,
he's-
so the eyes going
Oh, he
going
can't go
down,
that hard yet.
but also threat checking as well to work out, are you getting this?
And
Are you
he's
buying this?
wise.
Is this good for you? Got one
I
half
like
of
to
the
do this to
face
everyone
more
that
in
I
shade than the other with the hair down. Now I
that
do
I
see her with
mess
that
with.
hairstyle in
You
the first
can't
video,
really
but we can
tell
see
a
more
difference
into her
anyways.
face there. But still, it's a great vehicle.
Now we just
Again,
let
you
some
often
time
see,
go by and see what happens.
Some, but
You know,
not all,
give 'em some-
teenagers going through puberty
a
will start
variety
to
of
cover their
food.
face just that little bit more. Again, because there's more social risk for them in every communication that they make. So we could say the shading of the face, the half of the face not so disclosed.
Turtles.
Is that her dealing with the social
Nobody
risk?
likes piranhas.
We've got the eyebrow raises, as you were saying, Greg.
What do they
Again,
do?
trying to
They
check,
attack
are you
boats?
buying this? So again, assessing the social risk
real
of that,
dumb.
approval, chin tucked in and down, and then all the time as well, a general pleasantness about her, really kind of pleasant smile and pleasant air.
What kind of animals
around
live
her.
in the infernal
So
biome?
either that's because she just
Wolves.
isn't bothered about this crime, that's a possibility, or she's wanting to portray
Buffalo.
everything as
That's-
actually being
that's not
okay
infernal,
because she
that's
doesn't want to create
corrupted.
any more drama than there already is around all of this. And of course there's a drama because there's a missing child.
Rabbit.
And quite rightly so, when a child goes missing, hopefully, you would hope, and it does, the community go, well, this is important because this child has no agency for themselves. They can't survive on their own. So we're going to come in and we're going to deal with this thing. And so
cows are
there's
in
a
the north.
big piece of theatre going on around this. Scott, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like it when somebody does something to a little kid. That's one of my. I don't like that at all. So
I
I'll
don't
be
like
a
it
little
when somebody
negative
does
on
something to
her.
a little kid.
And as everybody else,
Well,
nobody's
don't
been
you?
positive, but if I'll try
It's
to,
a
I'll try to
bold
keep it in
take,
check.
Scott.
But she's not stressed here. She's not stressed at all. She's following her
It is a
protocol
bold
when
take.
she's lying so much in this.
I don't like it
She
when
does
people
a little
mess with
smile. She's
kids.
too relaxed. If she knew where that child was, she would have been there already. And it wouldn't have been
What's
the next
going on
day.
here?
And it wouldn't have been that evening. It would have been
Who's
that
fighting?
afternoon. If it had happened in the early afternoon, she'd have said, wait, where is he? She would have gone there. There'd be no two ways about it. Nobody goes missing for that long.
Who's fighting?
Without
Why?
somebody within 5 hours going, let me just check on her. Let me see what's going on. Just touching base, man. Nothing like that. No concern. There's nothing in there that shows concern.
We're gonna heal
All the
you.
stuff you guys covered as far as expressions go, I'll stay away from that so it doesn't get boring. But we don't say anything other than that little smile.
Well, we're
she's
gonna
got. And
uncripple you.
I'm about to lean into it and think a lot of that's a duper's delight because it shows up at the times when I think she thinks she's getting away with
We're
it.
gonna have to
and
heal
it's-
her.
I
There's
can't
a
say
way
for
to
sure
do
because
it.
it's really big, but that's the road it seems to be going down to me.
Besides just
Her
doing the
blink rate's
blood
really low.
rain.
Do you know why her blink rate's so you guys know? It's because she
Okay, now
keeps
y'all can
looking at
stop
the
fighting
woman
each
she's
other.
talking to make sure that woman believes this horse story she's telling.
Why are they attacking
And she wants to make sure, her brain wants to make sure that's what's happening. So that's why her eyes are kind of open and she keeps looking at her and not blinking a lot. As well, her eyes are dilated. Look at how dilated her eyes are. Because her brain, again, is trying to take in all the information it possibly can about this threat that this woman is to her.
Oh, it's
So,
a war.
Overall,
I shouldn't
this
have
is-
healed
this-
her.
This looks like the things we've seen before when we've done shows about people. Chin going down to protect the throat and the neck because she feels threatened because she's
the
not sure. Like you were saying, Mark,
IC
she's just starting to go with it at this point. She's throwing stuff out there. We're going to see her continue to do that and just create these little stories out of nowhere as she tells the truth and doesn't
different.
lie,
There's
which that'll mean
different.
something to you in a minute. So, okay, I'm going to get worked up, so
I
I'll
think
be done.
there's two kinds of duper's delight, in my opinion. I have my own theory.
Okay.
One of them is a satisfaction from getting away with deception. The other is a person who has spent their entire life organism being successful because they were social. They were able to gain rapport very quickly.
The organism
and the fear
does
of lying
what
makes
made
them
the
default
organism
to that,
successful.
that approval-seeking behavior.
That is
so I
a
do think if that's on
Greg
that spectrum
Hartley
of the duper's delight, that there's not delight there when we're seeing the smile.
And Chase, I think that fits back into the whole thing I was saying, like
He
borderline
is just
personality.
the leader,
People will
like a
jump on me and say,
chieftain.
I have it and I'm not that No, a lot of people, what you are born with is not who you are. It's what you're given. What you do with
Bump
it's a
up the
different story.
attack speed.
But people have a natural tendency to think the world of the person they meet and just glom onto them and plug into all their receptors. And I agree with you. If she thinks she's not going to be received, that's a great call. It's a great call.
Yeah.
What else?
And anybody that's got a rough life
Attack
and like
speed.
you're like, well, I haven't made it, or that's why I haven't made it. Go read Oprah's biography story. Insane. And she did well. She played her card. She played the hand she was dealt in a good way.
It's not what you get. Right?
Hey, well, let me ask you something, Chase. Did you ever see Three Stooges?
Yeah.
Did you see the one where Shep he
Speed.
gets drunk and just gets all this like
Attack
old
speed.
school hammered, like William Holden style hammered? Did you ever see that one?
No.
Okay, well anyway, he takes a bottle and he turns it up and starts drinking it. What are you
For
drinking?
health?
What is
I
that?
didn't know I
bottle
had
you got?
Is
that.
that why you were laughing?
Shit.
It's water.
Yes.
It's a water bottle.
Tito's. What do you think it is? Yeah.
What water is that?
It's called Holstein from Germany.
Where the hell do you get
Oh, from
German
Germany?
water?
Holstein.
You know what I mean?
Austria. Sorry, Austria.
I thought you were cranking one out, man. I couldn't tell what was going on. I was like, yeah, there it is.
Just a
I
Tito.
tell you what I think
Jesus,
about
like
this.
crank
This
one
girl's,
out.
you know.
I call it a fifth of water.
Can you,
Water.
can
Want
you
me to
taste
dry?
the meadows? Can you taste the flowers? The Austrian.
Don't put this in the video, but
No, it's going in. If it's in the thing here, it's going in.
then I'm not
Why
gonna
are y'all
talk about it then.
highlighted?
Oh,
You're a
come on,
chieftain.
dude. What are you afraid of? Bunch of panelists? They're not going to hurt you.
Where did the mice
Now
go?
somebody sent me like 100 of these
You better go
or
kill
more
the mouse.
as like a gift, maybe trying to get me hooked on it or something. But It's untouched by any piece of plastic, any filter or anything. It's comes from underground in Austria, and it has the lowest of something called deuterium, which is
a cow pee.
It's a heavy hydrogen molecule. We can go deep into this if you want to, but it lowers the function of your mitochondria. So it's supposed to help. Maybe it
I
does.
just want
I
to
don't
see
know.
the kings.
No, go ahead.
About the leaders.
I'm on good old Georgia well water. I'm sure it does my mitochondria.
Dude,
Polar
well water's
Springs.
one of the best in the world.
Mark,
Mine's
would you
good.
like Mark, would you like
Saying
Polar
well
Springs?
water is one of the
Toronto
best
tap
in the
water.
world.
Some of the best tap
What does
water
that
in the
mean?
world.
Is that, do you have to add
Chase.
to that, or is that?
Yeah. No, it comes already well ginned.
I'm gonna make a
So
little sand
let's get
island.
into the last time you saw her. Tell me what that time was like in Manette life.
Well, actually, I want to talk about that. I've told
This
TBI
girl
where to find her in Mendota.
is
My mom took her to a campground and a silver camper, and if they don't go
something
tonight,
with
I'm
her.
gonna go find her myself. Because I've told them, and
What's
they're
up
not
with
really
this
like
girl?
taking it seriously. And if they don't go tonight, like I will go myself and go get her.
70?
Tell them
Is
why
that too
she's
many?
their mom.
Don't get into
Yeah, I saw it in
that's
that
too
sign
many.
it, Bob. No, you need to defend
Sorry,
yourself.
guys.
That's all they need to know.
Quit.
was me,
They
wasn't it?
already know, Megan.
So let's kind of go
guys.
back into.
Sorry.
Clean up your dead bodies.
Tell me about the last time though that you saw Evelyn. Tell me what you guys did and when that
literally
was.
need
We
more
went to go out to
room.
eat, and then my mom came and got her. She was wearing a little hot pink tracksuit with the matching bow, little matching shoes.
And was this December 20,
nice
like right after
little
Christmas?
holy
A little bit
in
before
there.
Christmas.
So this was before Christmas. Okay. So tell
Look
me
at
what you
Jungle.
know about her situation. Obviously, you just revealed that you know she's where your mom took her. So tell me what all you know of that situation.
That's really all I know. My mom, like you can ask her, is a very vindictive, manipulating person, and she basically
Dang.
like threatened me the whole time that she was gone. She's like,
She's like, I'm threatening you. The whole time. Otahoro brothers. I don't know what the sisters feel about that. Ooh, they got wiped
She had
out.
asked me what I told you all, or what you have told me that she's done, not to say nothing. She was like, okay, keep it that way. And she was like, if it happens,
Not completely though. They still fighting? They sure are. He's,
yeah, not okay,
I knew these humans were gonna die. That's why I put more up there. They've got no army.
If I knew, I would tell you.
So why are they attacking? Band depression, forget that. Oh my
Maybe you can
dog.
get Evelyn.
What's up, dog? Not much. Okay, their king is 5 years old.
Well, I mean, she's trying to
And
stay
he
involved.
has no skills. I should just,
Maybe before you left your dad.
I should,
Me and my mom weren't really like on talking day-to-day basis at that point though.
Well, let's just assume for a minute that's true.
I don't need to
Let's
die.
say Ethan has Evelyn on the 26th. We'll say the 27th. He says, Angel, yeah, I've got Evelyn, you come get her. Okay. Why didn't Angel, your mom, why didn't your mom tell you, hey, I've got Evelyn?
I don't know.
Did your mom tell you she has Evelyn?
No. I even asked her and she was just kind of mad at me.
When did you ask?
God has chosen you.
Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. So I'm just going to introduce everybody here. I mean, not everybody here, guys. You can exclude yourselves from this one. But certainly if you're new to the behavior panel, a couple of terms for you, which is maximize and minimize. When somebody is maximized, let's just suggest they're taking up as much room as they possibly can, or a gradation of that. And when they're minimized, they're taking up
gone.
as little room
They're done
as they
for.
possibly can, or a gradation of that. And
Did I-
this is a lovely
Let's
image
grab the
of somebody who
sponge.
is maximizing. You've got the interviewer there who's really kind of opening his body up. The legs are
clean it
spread,
up.
his arms are out here. You'll see his elbows pushing out into often this kind of "I'm bigger than you thought I was" gesture. It's taking up a lot of space. and you've got the subject there, and she's right in tight, minimized, head down, yeah, lowering, gravity is taking her over, she's squashing herself in. Look, we could say kind of generally, if somebody is maximizing, taking up a lot of territory, they're possibly confident, possibly very overconfident. There's gradations of this. In a certain situation, they might be maximizing too much. If somebody's minimized, they're taking up less territory, they're maybe a little less confident. Again, there are gradations of that, and also situations that you might be able to imagine where you go, hang on, but you could minimize in a certain situation, and actually that might show confidence. And it could. Okay, so all body language is situational. And here's what I'll lastly say. There's no bad behavior, just results that you wanted or didn't want. Okay? There's no bad body language. There's just results. And those that you wanted, an effect that you wanted or an effect that you didn't want. So when you go back to look at this video, think, is the interviewer's maximization serving him well and serving this process well? Maybe too early to say at this point. And is her the subject's minimization serving her well? Is it doing a good job for her? Again, maybe too early to say, but certainly that's something that I look at. Maximization and minimization. There's no judgment on it at all. I'm just going, is it helping them get what they want around this? Scott, what do you got on this?
All right. So now her hands are under her legs. You know, she's trying to, it's a way you adapt for people who are watching for the first time. Another thing we talk about a lot on here are adapters. And adapters are ways you get rid of that built up stress and tension. Some people will do this, some people do that, and they'll squeeze, or you'll see their hand doing this, and they'll squeeze like that. Or they may just do their hands together like this in their lap, or clasp their hands. It's anything to get rid of that tension that's built up during that. And so that's what we're seeing here. When she's sitting on her hands, that's helping her do that. And she's really still. She's been, except for when she's outside, this is the most still she is when she's sitting in this interrogation. The most still she's been so far. And after he brings up the child being with an angel, we hear that classic phrase of hers that we hear all the time other places. I'll be honest with you, or to be honest with you. So you've been lying up to this point, but now you're going to tell us the truth. Okay, well, let's get started with the truth now. So it doesn't mean she's lying. Some people just say that out of habit. You may say that all the time, and it may mean nothing. But in this case, I think since she's making these things up, she's just throwing a bunch of stuff out. And when she gets new information, she goes, well, to be honest, here's what really happened. So that she thinks that gets her off the hook for not being honest up to that point. Then the detective says a classic interrogation line when he says this phrase, and you learn on day one, I've been doing this a long time, and I've talked to a lot of people who are sitting right where you are, and I can tell when somebody's being honest with me or not. That's one you just, that's on a piece of paper, and you just bring it out and read it every time you go. It's every time you read them, because you always say that, because you want them to think, you want them to know, this isn't your first time you've done this. This is nothing. For them, it's new.
These guys,
and they're a little bit nervous and put off a little bit. But you can say, look, man, I do this all the time. So what I do,
they're not all
I can tell when
fireproof.
somebody's not being honest with me. And this is what it looks like. That's what we're doing right now. So in a nutshell, that's what he says. Because you want them to think there's all these other things going on. In a lot of cases, there are a lot of other things going on. But not as much as he's building up, I don't think, in this situation. So that's a great little phrase that you'll hear, that we hear, I guess, quite often in these interrogations as well. So I'll leave it right there.
Pancakes, make
yeah, I'll leave it right there because I know Mark did a couple of things I was going to do, and then Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, so that makes perfect sense. Everything that y'all have said, I totally agree. And with both of y'all have said, talking about this small hand movement, and Mark, you were talking about how sometimes that can be in confident people. One of the people who does this, who also has maybe one of the most confident body language of anybody I've ever seen on TV, is Timothy Oliphant, as an actor. And man, he's got some of the greatest, if you ever want to study confident body language, not that applying these symptoms of confidence will give you confidence, because people say that on YouTube all the time. You don't get a cause from adding symptoms, but that's a whole other deal. But I completely agree. And I know that phrase that I learned in the first time I ever studied interrogation was, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and if there's one thing I know, it's when I'm not getting the full story. Where you're not just saying they're a liar, you're kind of just hinting there's maybe something's missing. Maybe you made a mistake a few minutes ago. But he asked, do you think Ethan gave Evelyn to Angel? She shakes her head no. And I think this is one of the exceptions where she is actually saying no, I don't think that, because later we're going to hear some details about that. And he says, let's say Ethan has Evelyn on the 26th. She folds her thumbs
smoldering
all
like a
the way
tire
down
fire.
into her hands, like they were up here and they
Timothy
just concealed
Oliphant.
down into this little bird nest. And one thing that I teach when I'm teaching behavior is, am I seeing opening, closing, aggression, or uncertainty? Those four things.
What?
But I always want you to think of this, the number one mistake it took me 5 to 10 years to figure out, and I can save you those 10 years right now. A lot of times you're going to see internet articles and books talk about body language in still images. When you see arm crossing, when you see leg crossing, what it means when you see the eyebrows go up. Always, for the rest of your life, when you hear someone talk about body language, play a movie of it in your head. Get the movement of when it happens, and your brain is going to kind of train itself to see it in real time so that the context makes better sense. So she's closing in all the way down here. Her fingers are here right when he's either mentioning this date or this guy's name. And it's a huge lead for further questions. And the entire time she acts like this isn't her problem.
Completely wiped out.
It's someone else's responsibility to figure out where Evelyn is. It's like she expects the police to magically produce her, the babysitters to drop her off, or everything to somehow fix itself. And when she does talk about what happened, it's never with any sense of urgency or heartbreak. And instead, it's just an excuse after excuse. Her mom's too mean. Someone else must have taken her, but never her fault. And the way she talks about Evelyn is cold, detached, like not even a person, just some misplaced object like a lost phone or a set of keys that she can't find, or she can't be bothered to look for. There's no real concern, no desperation, no motherly instinct to get her daughter back.
But she won't let me touch
and
her
as I was watching this today, in the back of my brain, and I wrote this in my notes
turtles
here,
don't have
she
paws.
has moved on.
They have hooves.
At this point. Greg?
Hey, wait, just a second. Let me ask you this, Greg. You remember that time, because you were talking about still pictures, Chase. Remember that time I sent you a picture of a guy being put back in the back of a police car? The two guys, one of them they'd broken out of prison. One of them had off the guard.
Buffalo.
And he had the weirdest expression on his face and his forehead. It looked like he was writing Sputnik 1 or something, or Welcome to
with all the tattoos, I remember.
Yeah, it was really weird. And I said, what do you think's going on here, man? Do you remember what you said?
I don't.
You said, I think they caught the picture as he was moving from one expression to another.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Let him be.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
crippled.
It was really weird looking on his forehead. It was odd enough for me to email it and go, what are you? Look at this.
Crippled, we will bless
So
you.
when you look
and
at a
make
single
you a
picture of
healer.
someone, you can't count on that at all. A lot of people say, "Oh, look what I was going on in this picture of these
King,
celebrities."
Brad,
You don't know. The guy may have his,
Brad,
they say, "Oh, he's not got his hand cupped around her, so it means this or that." But he may have just put his hand up there. He's getting ready to start, or letting go move. There's so much that isn't happening in there. So that's a good call, Chase. It's got to be something that's moving so you can see what's happening. You can't just catch it and say, "Look what's happening here."
I would say
about
the exception might be clothing choices, scratches on arms, eye discoloration, like all of those things that are non-body language things.
Well, and I would say, I'll try to take it right over on from there. Yeah, exactly, that all of this is about looking for unintentional signaling, things people do unintentionally. I control a lot of muscles in my face. If I do that, that's a different thing than something fleeting
I
across
just
your face
remembered
as
I
I
have
talk.
chicken.
And Chase, to your point, when this is happening, you can't just watch that person, you also have to watch the other person, because this is a dance, this is movement and constant movement. I'm going to take a couple of seconds here before I get to, I agree, I think she may have moved on, but there's a couple of really interesting things. Somebody's going to say, he's not doing the right job, he's not doing a read. He's not trying to read this person, he's not trying to close the door, he's not trying to get a confession. He's trying to find out, where is this baby? If she's still alive, He's going after her. He's after information, information, information. If he finds the baby, he can figure out the rest later. You can see that's their approach. I think he does a good job. I think she has a plan, and I think you brought it up earlier, Chase. The organism does what made the organism successful. She has gotten away with bullshitting her way out of things so many times. I can just about guarantee you that's what she's doing here. And we're going to see a pattern emerging. That chaff and redirect I talked about, spewing information until somebody picks up, and then you run, starts right here pretty heavily. And what she's trying to do is scatter a whole bunch of information out, see what sticks, then take that and start building her story. Watch her, starting right here, you can see it. She starts to chaff, and this officer does a masterful thing. He says, slow down. That's Southern for, wait a minute, hang on. You need to shut up and listen to me. That's exactly what he's doing. He stops the chaff. It's a beautiful thing. And let's talk about Sharf for just a minute and about Reed. People will say Reed and Sharf, they're not separable, because if you're any good at Reed, you're also going to be using psychology and all of that and trying to get it through to the person. What you call making it your own, Scott, is really about using those psychological ploys to get the person to feel more comfortable before you just ramrod them. Because if you run down a checklist, while it is a process, it's very clear to the person what you're doing. So it is a process. What you notice with her is, I agree with you guys, she's got her hand between her legs and she's doing a whole lot of adapting. She uses that push-pull word for honestly. And I agree with you, it doesn't mean dishonesty always. It is just a rock to turn over and make sure there's nothing hiding under it.
Yeah,
when somebody says honestly, I go, hold on. I did a British TV show called Guantanamo Guidebook, and there's a kid in there who I asked how he made his living, and he was the guy who was the key to the whole story. He said, I just earned an honest living. Whoever said that in their life? And so I started poking and prodding, and his body language started coming apart. It was an interesting one. But she's good at paying attention to what they need to hear, and she's trying to plug into their adapters. He slows her down. She starts to turtle a little bit. And those of you who are not always here, we talk about turtling when a person shrinks into their own body, like a turtle pulling his head in. And you can see her doing that here because she's trying to make herself smaller. Then she goes back to that mother and her. Well, I haven't talked to her in a while. And then this is the beginning of her pitching a new theory. Maybe my mother has her. Here it comes. And when they ask, when did you ask her, Scott? I'm surprised you didn't bring this up. It's your term. That's the most fading facts I've ever heard in my life, where somebody swallows words and they disappear. You can't even hear her when she responds to it. I wonder what she said. So there's a whole pattern of she's looking for an out here. She's looking for a way. She's playing these people as hard as she knows how, but they're not having it. And they are clear. They're using strong language. They're nailing her down, not giving her the ability to redirect so she can't get away. And they're clarifying, which is how you stop somebody from chaffing and redirecting. You ask enough questions that they bog down on the topic and they can't move on to the next one. Mark, what do you got?
I've been. I think we're all done.
I think the important thing is, Greg, what you were saying is, because people will see this and not understand why they're not trying to get her to confess. They don't care right now. That's not what their job is going in here. Yeah, they're trying to find out where this little child is. So if you're thinking,
you can use Reed to get that data too.
Yeah, look. Yeah. Agree. Any interrogation technique you can use to get it. Agreed, Chase. Reed has a place for it, and you're collecting data as you go along the way. But what they're not doing is to close the door. They're not trying to close. I agree. You could do, you can do a monologue that will help if the person's receptive to a monologue, but she's not there yet.
So listen to how many times he says, "We just want to know how with the health of this baby. We want to know where the baby. We're trying to find." So listen to how many times that comes up, because I know a lot of people say, "Why don't they try to get her to admit it?" What if she did admit it? She needs to tell them where that baby is. Sometimes it's like a little team that goes in there just for that, to find out where that child is, or not a team, but you go in that mindset. Here's our goal. Let's do that. Then we'll worry about everything else later. So, because if you find the child, then that's the number one. That's the goal. That's why you're there in the first place.
Good.
I'll give you that one, Craig.
He's a freaking. He's a pyro.
With why you're here and why we're trying to talk to her and everyone and the whole deal. That's what the conversation was about. There's no doubt in my mind.
Skin burns, but where's the pyro?
She kept asking me what I told you all, or what you have told me that she's done. Not just saying nothing. She's like, okay, keep it that way. And she's like,
so your mom told you to not talk to us, and if we ask you anything, not tell her anything.
yeah,
Okay, why? Why?
I don't know, but she didn't want to know about her. She didn't want you to know anything where she was or anything like that.
Why not?
If I knew, I would tell
Well,
you.
you got an idea.
Well, I really didn't know that until I told me that.
You got an idea.
Maybe even if everyone
Listen,
knew.
listen.
What's going on?
You
Oh,
know.
they're insane.
You know, maybe you can gave everyone to her. What makes you think that?
There's a ghost.
Well, I mean, she's kind of just taking off.
When do you think you gave everyone names?
There's a
Maybe
big
before you left her bag.
chicken drumstick.
Let's
Me and my mom weren't really like on talking day-to-day basis at that point though.
well, let's just assume for a minute that's true. Okay. Let's say Ethan had Evelyn on the
I
26th.
don't like that he makes
Let's say
face.
27th. He says, Angel, yeah, I've got Evelyn. You come get her. Okay. Why didn't Angel, your mom? Why didn't your mom tell you, hey, I've got Evelyn?
I don't know.
Did your mom tell you she had Evelyn?
No. I even asked her and she was kind of mad at me.
I need
When did you?
some skeletons. Good thing about skeletons is if you guys have shitty weapons or no weapons, skeletons will give them weapons.
Maybe Ethan gave
See,
Evelyn.
look, now that guy has a sweet bow. And
What you just said.
that kid is a giant.
No, how you, that's what you said. That's how you said. Okay?
I don't know. I'm really honest with you.
Let me talk. I mean, in a small time, I've talked to a lot of people. They're sitting right there in the same position you are. I know when you're not being 100% honest, just like I knew yesterday when I told you that you didn't run out of gas and walk down the road. Mom broke you off. I knew that. I know you told me one thing, but I knew something else.
Okay, I'm really honest with you. Okay? I don't know for sure, but I just like that feeling at this point.
Ghosts.
What if we reworded that statement a little bit?
Okay.
What if we reworded it to say, maybe Daddy gave Evelyn to Angel?
I did not. Me and mom were talking at that point.
Well,
He'll never die.
No. The only time that she's ever kept that
Can't be all this.
is one time she
We
kept
gotta
her
take that away from
overnight
him.
from me. Because me and I were into it, and she was at her parents' I didn't really have anywhere to stay, so I left my car that night. But Evelyn was inside the house, and then she kept her for me maybe like a couple hours a few times.
what if there was a time
I wonder if
you couldn't get
snakes
in
can
touch with
survive
Ethan
on a fire floor.
and you needed a break?
No,
Maybe you went to your mom, said here's Evelyn,
no,
and you trusted your mom,
no,
and she never brought Evelyn back. Not possible.
not possible.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So here we're going to see her do something interesting. This is her innate ability to glean what people will accept, whether it's from some disorder, whether it's from experience, or it's from really crappy parents that she had to learn to work or had to learn to work around. If she lived in a really bad environment, she could have picked up the skill, but she is innately has skill to read people. When I'm watching this, I'm thinking it's a shame she's such a piece of shit and killed her kid, because she has some talent that could apply to what we do very effectively. If you can pick up on things as quickly as she does here, you would be very
telling
effective
you,
as an
Greg.
interrogator. But let's talk about her body
I
language a little
do.
bit, and then I'll tell you why I say that. She's gone from this comforting hands to between her legs where she's rubbing and smoothing to now she's locked down. She's sitting on her hands. Mark, I'll leave the joint protection to you because that's your space. But she does, again, that honesty, that honest push-pull word. She does it many times. It's not always
We're
a red
gonna make
flag.
this
It's often a yellow
prime
flag.
real
And like I said
estate.
before, just turn that rock over and make sure. Again, he's not trying to get a confession. He'll get a confession if he finds a body or finds the kid somewhere it shouldn't be. So that's a way to look. And he's using some things here to tell her. I've used it before, exactly what he's doing. Where he says, I knew yesterday you were lying to me about you getting here from a broke down car and walking. I knew your mother dropped you off. That's we know all. And we know all is one of the hardest interrogation ploys to do, because all you have to do is say one thing that's not true and the person know it. And you go from we know all to we don't know shit. And you're done. That minute you are out of the room and somebody else has to go in. Here's one of the most complex, non-contracted denials I've ever heard. Because she says, I did not. Did you hand this child over to your mother? I did not. And her cadence changes. There's a whole lot going on. And you could immediately say she's being deceptive. Well, is she being deceptive or is she protecting another deception that she doesn't want them to uncover. I think it could easily be that, because she doesn't say I did not all the time. Chase, you pointed out a few times earlier when she's being deceptive, she did it. And people will tell you it's an absolute. I don't want you to hear it as an absolute. But when a person changes their word pattern, it's a reason to dig in. There's so much going on here that you get a chance to dig in and look. And there's a good opportunity. So we always talk about false confessions. If you watch what's going on here, you will hear her developing a story as the officers are poking and prodding. Now imagine if I'm poking, prodding, and adding information you shouldn't know into it. You can easily get a false confession. The person feeds it back, and they're shared guilty knowledge. So it's an unscrupulous interrogator can intentionally feed you the wrong information and give you information that can get you convicted. That's not what's going on here. He's pushing her, he's pushing her, he's pushing her, and she's responding, and then she hears something, and it is a beautiful opportunity. She hears what we would call a source lead in my world, where the guy says something about her mother. Boom, her light comes on. Oh, and she kind of fishes to see how it would be perceived if her mother has done something very quickly. She's going to exploit that, and you can watch it. This is a turn from I don't know what happened to her to maybe somebody in my life can take the blame. Really twisted, but if she can pick up on a lead that quickly, she missed her calling. She should have been in my business. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. Look, let me go over that joint protection piece. Often what we're looking for is somebody protecting really vulnerable areas of the body. So we'll always talk about this turtling because it's protecting the arteries here and the windpipe here. Obviously, if these get damaged in any way, you're in big trouble. You'll see people protecting their stomach area. You've got the center of gravity there. If you can control somebody's center of gravity, you've got control of the whole of their body. Wherever that center of gravity is going, their limbs and their head and their toes are going in that direction as well. Another area that you'll want to see people protecting is the elbow joint here, the wrist joint, the finger joint. So that's why crossed arms like this is very different from crossed arms like this, or in fact, let's make it even worse, like this, or in fact, like this. And then we could add to this Chase's thing of digital flexion there as well, where you can see it tightly gripped in there. So, I'm often looking for, is somebody being protective of themselves? Okay, that's going to indicate most likely an element of stress, unconfident. Well, here in this situation, she's moved from the hands being protected in the center of the legs, and she's back over to the side of the chair here. I can't tell whether she's sitting on her hands at that point or she's kind of gripping onto the bottom of the chair like she's trying to stop herself taking off. But either way, any of those things are going to protect the knuckle joints here. Oh, by the way, you can test this out with your friends and your family. It will really annoy them. But get hold of their wrist and start moving them around by their wrist. They'll get really upset and agitated by it. Take their finger and start pulling their arm from the finger. They'll get really upset by it. Even worse, grab the thumb and start dragging them around by their thumb. But here's the difference. Get their shoulder and start trying to move them around from their shoulder, and they'll just go, no. They'll knock you off immediately. This area is not vulnerable. Here is vulnerable. All around here.
That's why when you see someone
so
like a man guiding a woman.
Now, what we're always looking for is that movement. As Chase was saying, we're looking for where were they, where have they gone to, and what's the movement that they're going through? What's the change, essentially? And we do see her change from being here to one hand starting to come up, and she kind of opens up a little bit. And that's where she's given the opportunity to negotiate with the interviewer on some of the terms within one of the answers. Now, he's maybe negotiating with her for a different reason that maybe she thinks she's getting negotiated with. I would imagine there's two different ideas going on here, but I would say she gets quite confident around this idea of being able to negotiate or renegotiate something of the statement. And what happens? She holds her ground and she says no to every piece of negotiation that he brings. I think she's now, just as you say, Greg, she's smarter or let's say more emotionally intelligent in many ways than many of the people who we see sitting in that kind of position. And it is quite impressive how confident she gets around the renegotiation of this statement, and therefore how she just holds her ground and holds her ground and says no, no, no. I don't know whether he expected it to go that way. I think he probably didn't. I think he does have a tactic in mind, for sure, but I'm not sure it's going in the direction that he hoped it might have gone. That's okay. He's got a bunch of tools that he can go to. Chase, what do you got on this one?
This is her getting caught in a lie, flat out exposed, and instead of trying to explain herself, correct anything, or add details, she just nods and silently admits it. No excuses, no backtracking, just an empty acknowledgement, like she's not even bothered by that. But when it comes to the irrelevant stuff, suddenly she has all the details in the world, and this is what we call a detail mountain. She piles on unnecessary information in areas that don't really matter, and she's creating a detail valley where it does matter. And where's the biggest detail valley? Right around the missing child. The lack of detail is a giant red flag. And in NCI, which is the system that I teach, this is called a cognitive break. When somebody avoids repairing their own lie, it suggests they lack any real memory to correct. So truthful people naturally adjust when they misspeak, and deceptive people usually don't because they're fabricating as they go. And one of the key principles in NCI is identifying those little knowledge gaps. If somebody truly believed others were responsible, they'd push for tracking and verification. Megan never demands proof or offers logical ways to locate Evelyn. That's a big deal. That's a knowledge gap. Huge cognitive gap right there. And so this is very textbook deception, just in a different way from a person that's probably maybe not even known to her, but a very skilled gaslighter. And I have dated somebody like this before when I was much younger. And I swear, if I didn't have my training and she had spoken some of these statements like that sounded similar to this to somebody else, they'd go into some hypnotic trance trying to figure out what was going on. Just that so much all at one time to deflect and chaff and redirect. Scott?
All right. In Greg and I have this thing called the liar's loop in the True Crime Workshop. And this is a great example of how as this girl makes up these lies as she goes along, she comes up with these new stories. She doesn't deconflict that lie before she starts talking because she doesn't have time. Because when you lie, you have to decide you're going to lie. You have to think up the lie, and then you deconflict that lie to make sure it's going to work. There's nothing that they can get you on, and then boom, it goes. You deliver it. And so she's not having enough time while she structures it to deconflict it properly before she lets it go. So she's got to be on point and get ready to deconflict everything that comes back, or she's got to be able to fight off every thing they say after that to make sure she looks like she's telling the truth, right? So she's coming up with all kinds of different possibilities now that could happen to this child. I mean, she's come up with 5 of them altogether. They've been out, apparently from this thing, the way they're talking, they've been out driving her around to different places to see where they think it might be, or the baby might be, you know? And she hasn't been to one of these places yet. It could be at 5 different places that she's come up with so far, and she hadn't been to one of them, not one. So that right there says so much about where her head is at in all this. I think you're right, Chase. I think she's already just, you know, she's good with it so far. She's used to it. She knows it. She knows what's happened, obviously, but I think she's settled in with it at this point. For all these places her child could be, if you have a child, it's going to be one of 5 places anyway. It's going to be home with you. It's going to be at child care. It may be at a play date, but you're going to be there too, you know, or maybe at school, something like that. But it's not going to be so many places you have to go and check what might be here. You're going to know where that child is. You call any mother, they're going to know exactly where that child is at that age. Yeah, there's no question about that at all. So
it's like never-ending wars.
They've got her. You know, they know that she's full of it. That's why they again begin to lean in on where's the child, where is the child, where is the child? Because there's no question to them even though she hasn't said, "All right, here's what I did." They just want to know who that little child is, and that's their goal. That's the goal they're going for. All right, is everybody?
Yeah.
All right.
Bam Sodom. Abarimo. What a worthless leader.
What you just said.
He's a decent steward.
That's what you said. How you said it.
He's not good enough to realize, well, I guess that's not him.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man.
Von Borum.
I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, go up northwest just a tad.
I know when you're not being
And you
honest,
will.
just like I knew yesterday when I told you that you didn't
Something
like that
to
gas
sponge.
down the road. Mom dropped you off. I knew that. I know you told me one thing, but I knew something else.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't know for sure, but I just my gut feeling at this point.
What if we reworded that statement a little bit?
Okay.
What if we reworded it to say, maybe Maggie gave Evelyn to Angel?
I did not. Me and Mom were
Let's
talking
go
about it.
humans.
Whatever the heck you wanted.
No.
Let's see.
The only time
I
she's
wanna
ever kept that
check
boy
some of y'all out.
is one time she kept her overnight from me, because me and I were into it, and she was at her parents'. I didn't
Oh,
really
yeah.
want to say, so I left my
I gave
car
them
at
all
home.
this.
But Evelyn was inside
all
the house,
these
and then she kept
traits.
her for me for maybe like several hours.
I should have
What if there was a
figured.
time you
And
could
they
get
all
touch
have
with Ethan,
sides because they're all farmers.
No.
maybe
But
you
they
and your
can't
mom,
use those as weapons. Why not?
mom,
No.
and she never brought Evelyn back. Not possible.
Not possible.
You can try to find Evelyn.
I tried to call my
This
mom
is like
on
what I
every number
did.
that I have for her, and she's not answering.
This is the kind of gamer I
I
am.
have 3 numbers for her.
Like I felt like I had to make sure all the green was constantly watered. The green fields.
Because I think she knows something. I don't know for sure. I'm not.
That's why like RPGs are so stressful for me. Cause I gotta do everything.
I've talked to you now for
Do it right.
coming up on 5 hours. First time I heard that. Maggie.
So I can be in trouble for not saying that before.
Dang, this guy's going to town.
We want Evelyn.
5 kills with that
We will
thing.
go to the end of the freaking earth and back.
It's like a ranged chainsaw.
But I had no idea where she's at. I've called her maybe like 100 times. a
Maybe
day.
you don't, okay, maybe you don't know where she's at right
I
now.
might have an idea though.
Okay,
I
tell
know
us.
the area.
Tell us the idea.
She used to stay on Jenkins Hollow Road in Elizabeth.
I might have an idea though.
What makes you think she's there right now?
These are the only places I know that she would go to.
The 3 we talked about last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Kern Will used to cancel a lot. I don't know where she got like exactly where.
Who's killing
like,
them?
back in Salt Charge, like Scott County, but I know it was close to that river.
Pretty close to be, excuse me, Stockton, Virginia, pretty cold to be Camden.
Will
Okay,
has to cancel.
okay, okay.
I
Virginia,
does.
Stock County,
Those are orcs, right?
tell me where they're at.
I don't
Does
know
it say?
exactly.
Read it.
You got a
It's
good idea.
duck buck.
You know, yesterday when I had you
Why
taking me
doesn't it
places,
tell me?
those are like the only ideas.
Chase, what do you got?
This is where
Orcs.
I
You
would have
could know by the
exploited
name
the fact she has no idea how GPS tracing works. Now we're talking about how we can trace the people she's accusing and
And they're
track them down to a
spreading.
precise location, send some officers over there
They're
while she
getting
waits.
attacked by orcs. That's what you
This
gotta
is
love about
disgusting
orcs.
to watch.
They will
Because
attack
just
each
seeing
other.
What we've looked at today, I would go all in. All of my chips would be on that there is one person who knows where Evelyn is and who can
It's
help
this
find her,
girl.
and this is her. There is no emotion, no desire to get her daughter back, only to appease the police. That's her main thing. So every time I look at a video, one of the first 3 things that I see is what is motivating this person the most. And here it is
She
not
just wants to
getting Evelyn
be
back.
done.
It's cooperating and
Talking.
staying out of trouble. She even says it in those words. That's the leading motivation. This is where the needs to be a really good interrogator to maybe just come into the room and take care of business. And maybe these guys are doing that. Maybe they already know some stuff that we don't know that they know in this moment.
Right.
Who knows? Scott, what do you got?
We're gonna.
Are you sure this is 5, you guys?
Beef you guys.
Yeah.
5. Yeah.
Okay. The numbering messed me up, so I just want to make sure I'm in the right place. All right, I agree with you, Chase. And again, here she is creating more stuff. She's just throwing stuff out there, like you were talking about, Greg, like your classic chaff and redirect, but she's just chaffing to see what they'll glom onto. And she just starts creating a story out of that. You know, oh, wait, it could be over here. It could be over here. Again, she's just creating all these places this child could be that she hadn't been yet to check out. Not one place. So this is and what's missing from this. What I look for when I start watching the video are the things that are missing, not necessarily what's there, but what's missing. And again, missing from here is any kind of grief, any kind of worry, any kind of stress. We see stress, but not the kind of stress of I'm worried what's happened to my child. She's not asking, she's not worried about where the child is. Like you're saying, Chase, she's worried about keeping out of trouble. So that's what's happening. And then she just keeps making up stuff and making up stuff. It's like a little child, but she's so good at it because she's done it her whole life. I said it in the last video we did what I thought she was full of, and I still think she's full of it. And she's a little you-know-what because she's a manipulator. And I think her narcissistic thing must be level must be fairly high to be able to look these people in the eye like this and just keep lying with the confidence she's lying with, as she goes on and then makes the stuff up and thinks they're going to believe it. That's why she keeps saying, to be honest with you,
nothing to lose because she knows she's caught.
I don't know. This kind of thing totally twists me because I can see what she's doing, and I know these guys.
She's got everything to lose, but
that's why they keep saying, "Where is she? We're worried about her health. We're worried about the little child. Where is she?" So this kind of thing is the classic talking to a child. You just keep saying, "Well, then I went over here and did this." Like there's nothing on the line here. Yeah, she's not worried about. She's worried about getting in trouble. She doesn't realize she's going to she's going to go away forever. Maybe she does realize that, but she's not coming on like that. She has no worry about that. So I'm fixing to get very passionate about this. So I'm not going to. I'm going to hush. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. So look, it's frustrating, and I think what you're doing there, Scott, is giving us a sense of the frustration of this, because in order for this to move forward, from my perception of it, they need a child. They either need an alive child or a not alive child, but they can't. That's the piece of evidence that they need in order for this to move forward, and they are at the moment entirely reliant on her to give them the location of that child. And so everybody's right. That's why they're so focused on look, just tell us where she is, because nothing moves forward without that. Absolutely nothing. Now, I think at the same time, she has a fairly good perception of that nothing moves forward unless she goes, here's where you'll find that child, alive or not. And so we see here the interviewer that we can see well in camera. He's retreated now, he's closed his arms, he's protective. Yeah, he's still maximizing in the leg area, but he started to minimize and be protective in the upper body area. His maximized legs are now moving up and down. There's a sense of controlling his energy there, and impatience, I would say, for this. I'm most likely projecting that impatience because I can get a sense of where anybody would be impatient around this. Because look, why is she so confident and kind of nonplussed in this? Well, because I think you're right. She's moved on, so she has no stakes in this anymore. She doesn't need to find a child. She knows where the child is. She has no stakes, and they at the moment have no cards to play. They've got nothing where they can go, well, there you go. How about that for a child? That's what we've got now. They've got nothing to play. What a frustrating game to be in now. As she starts to negotiate some of the terms, interestingly. So she's negotiating knowing versus an idea. And she will move from, look, I don't know where the child is, but I got an idea where the child is. So just as you were saying, she's willing to put forward a bunch of ideas, but at least she's now willing to go, I could have an idea where, so they're incrementally getting somewhere, but in the most frustrating way possible. And we start to see her open up around this thing of having an idea rather than knowing. So things are shifting in this video. They're by no means shifting fast enough for the interrogators here, but I can see some movement. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to tie a lot of what you guys just said together. Interestingly, Chase, while I agree with you, GPS would be a great thing, I think she is so unhinged on fact that she may not even care what you say. Because you're going to see her just arbitrarily contradict herself with a fact in a couple of minutes. She's just a piece of work.
It may be an IQ problem and not a...
It could be, but I think it's something bigger. I think it's back to that personality issue. And I think you said it best. She's trying to stay out of trouble, but there's a lot of ways to stay out of trouble. One is by having something that's kind of factually based and working your way through it. Another is to get approval at every level. And that's what I think we're seeing here. She's trying to get approval at everything. She's heard that little tidbit, that little source lead, and she's gonna, when you ride a horse, there's a thing called taking the bit in their teeth. A horse grabs the bit and you can't control them anymore, they run away with it. That's what we're seeing, in my opinion. She's figured out that there's something that they might be willing to accept, so she's working her way toward it. And she's an incremental liar. She's going to go boom, 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 because she's probably been called on the carpet before for wholesale lies, big lies. So she's going to try to do it incrementally. And that's what I think we're seeing here, because she starts off, they ask her a question, and she does avoidance immediately. They ask her, have you tried to find your child? I call my mother at all 3 phones. There's virtue signaling. I did everything possible. Then she does chaff. She's running down the path of what else she knows about her mom. I'm not going to lie to you again. And now she suddenly thinks her mother knows something. Not just maybe my mom had some inclination or she's been doing something, but she has to make up this on the fly as she's going. And her processor, I think to your point, Chase, she may be poorly educated and not be able to understand how to tie that stuff together. Whether she's smart or not, she's emotionally very smart because she's paying attention and she's looking at it. This is like her finding a loose thread in the sweater and just pulling. She's going to run it as hard as she can, and facts be damned. And what I love is
she was the smartest person in the room for a long time in her life.
That's
but
probably true.
I would love to hear that from you, like just what that means.
Oh yeah, what, being the smartest person in the room? So a lot of people they've never figured out that just because they are smart in their own mind, they really are not truly smart. So they've outsmarted the people around them, or in some cases they have been the smartest person ever in their life. And so they think that whatever they think is true, whatever they think is powerful, whatever they think is important. And they'll tell you that even though they're surrounded by people who are much smarter than them. These guys call her on it. I mean, they're saying, that's the first time I've heard you say anything like that. And she's still, that's why I said she's got the bit in her teeth. She is running with it. She's not going to take any chances. She's just going to keep going. She figures she goes hard enough, and she's done this before. If she'd not done this before, she wouldn't try it now. And the one thing to watch her, when she's chaffing and she's using facts, watch her brow. It's flat. She's talking like this. When they get to any topic where she wants to get approval, watch those brows rise. It is a beautiful example of request for approval when a person's telling you something that they shouldn't have any need for you to approve of, and they're raising their brow as they're saying things. She doesn't do it at all when she's being factual, only when she's going to the point. She's going to try to make a really hard swing in a minute, but this is a build-up. You can't miss that she thinks she can get away with stuff that's insane. And Chase, to your point, maybe she's not smart enough. I don't know. Maybe she's just gotten away with it so many times by making people approve of her that she's gotten away with it. But here we are. Let's see what's next.
Hey, Greg, talking of that loose thread, if you take a look, she opens up and she starts actually picking.
Yes.
like a loose thread. There's some really interesting kind of adaptation going on there.
Yep, for sure. I got it in my next one, and you're right. She's balled up and pulling on that shirt.
Yeah.
She thinks she's got a path out, I think.
I think these guys know the child's been gone for a while because there's no desperation here. And when you have a situation where you don't, sometimes there'll be the person will be in a trunk out at the airport, and it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, but you've got to find that person before the sun gets too hot, so that person doesn't, remains with us. So we're not seeing that desperation here. So I think they know that the child is gone. They're just trying to find out where it is.
Anybody else think that part of the reason she might be irrational is she can't win either way? If they find the child, she's done. If they don't find the child, she's done. So she just is swinging for the fence.
I tried to call my mom on every number that I have for her, and she's not answering.
Okay.
I have 3 numbers for her.
Of all the people in the world, of all the things you could be doing to find Evelyn, you keep calling your mom. Why?
Because I think she knows something. I don't know for sure. I'm not going to lie to you. Because don't feel like you're not being 100% honest with me. I am.
It's the first time I've heard that. I've talked to you now for coming up on 5 hours. First time I heard that, Maggie.
So I can be in trouble for not saying that before.
Look, we are concerned about Evelyn. We want Evelyn.
What did I tell you last night? We will go to the end of the freaking earth and back. Like he told you, they've got 2 damn planes that put in the air.
But I have no idea where she's at. I've called her maybe like 100 times.
Maybe you don't, okay. Maybe you don't know where she's at right now.
I might have an idea though.
Okay, tell us the idea.
She used to stay on Jenkins Hollow Road in Elizabeth.
Alright, tell me that last night.
Okay.
What makes you think she's there right now?
These are the only places I know that she would go to.
The 3 we talked about last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then her and Will used to cancel a lot. I don't know where she got like exactly her like trespassing and assault charge in like Scott County, but I know it was close to that river.
Pretty close to be, excuse me, Scott County, Virginia, pretty cold to be camping. Okay.
Will has to cancel.
Okay. Okay.
Mendoza, Virginia, Scott County.
Yeah.
Tell me where they're at.
I don't know exactly where they're at.
You got a good idea.
You know, yesterday when I had you taking me to places, those are like the only ideas. Because I felt like it made me look like a bad mom, and I really didn't want like.
Well, look, let me ask you this way. I don't think you've been in there to see how many people we've got. We're not exaggerating. The number of people in there pales in comparison to the number of people on the ground. We have an entire unit in Nashville, Tennessee working on this. We've got an entire unit in Washington, D.C. that's working on this, okay? Those people are stationed in offices. They're controlling people out on the ground. These people got people out on the ground. A bunch of people, okay? You say you think it would make you look like a bad mom, okay, or a bad person or whatever. Why didn't you just tell somebody a month ago, 3 weeks ago, hey,
The only person I've talked to about it is mom.
okay,
And she's told me that she can talk to Ethan.
okay. Why didn't you go to someone? Did you see the extent? We got to tell me, have you passed the billboard that has an Amber Alert on it? They're all up and down the interstate. I bet I passed 3 coming in this morning. Passed probably 3 going home last night. You know how the Amber Alert work? Sends out a text message to everyone. Okay?
Yeah.
People are willing to help. Our first thought is not, hey, let's judge the mom and talk about how bad of a mom she is. Our first thought is, let's find this baby. Help us.
Like I said, I don't know for sure that my mom has anybody. I would just tell you to get over it.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So now she's going to soft pitch this big lie that she's going to make about her mom. This is what I love is watching an expert work. This is a person who's lied so many times that she can do it flat-footed and without ever thinking. There's so much circular logic in the way she talks here that only a person who's lied a lot of times would feel comfortable pitching this out and try to get around it. This is what gaslighters do. They don't have a clear line of thought. They just keep circular logic on you. So let's walk through a couple of those. I love Mark. You talked about last time about her unraveling the sweater. I noticed her pulling on that shirt sleeve. And I think it's because she knows they're onto her to some degree. And Mark, your laugh cough doesn't exist here anywhere in this video. It tells me she understands her target. She understands her mark. These cops are not her mark. And she's very clearly not laugh coughing. Now, she would rather be caught flat-footed for lack of action, and even if it contradicts her earlier story, just to save face. Now we're back to approval is in the core of her being. If your parents don't approve of you and you're living in a really crappy situation and you learn these skills, approval is going to be the whole thing. This is a whole new level of liar from most of what we've seen. I'll contradict my earlier story to cover a lie now. It's a beautiful thing. Everything that she's doing is just running around in circles. There's no facts to anything. And she says, what did she say? You mean the mom that you have told me earlier you were talking to, you haven't talked to in a long time? How does that work? Haven't talked to her in a long time. I wasn't talking to her at the time. And she's also now starting to shop her mom just a little bit. I say she's shopping, throw mom under the bus just to see if it'll work. And then she says, if I knew for sure, I would just tell you. That's a play and a test of the water to see. She's saying, is this at all believable to you? And if they say yes, she's going to swing for the fence. And I got a feeling we're going to see some wild swings. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, here's another familiar phrase for interrogators. You wouldn't believe how many people are working on this. We've got people in Washington looking at this. We've got people over in Nashville looking at this. We've got so many people. So it's like, I don't mean to laugh. I shouldn't be telling this. But you want to make it look like there's an army working on this, and there's no way that they're not going to find out what's happened or find out where that person is that you're looking for. So that's also, yeah, that's a day one as well. Just so you know.
You know how many people are looking at this?
Yeah, yeah, man, it's unbelievable. So I think that Amber Alert got her when they bring that up, because she knows at that point everybody is aware of what's happening. So that adds on to, you wouldn't believe how many people are working on this, because once you do that, all of her friends know, all of her family knows, everybody that's involved with her or around her in the state of Tennessee knows, well, in the surrounding area knows about that child missing, and anybody that knows her knows the name of that child and what's going on. So I think that kind of bothered her there. So, and then she's still goofing around with her sleeve, but her cadence, voice tone, volume, all that is fairly stable. You know, again, no stress from, you know, not knowing where a child is, no stress from that, no worry, no concern about anything else. She's just, but at the same time, she's sort of locked down and just answering. And she never really looks at either one of these interrogators straight on. She's always looking to the side at them. All she's got to do is do that a little bit and just like, yeah, I know, because they're all like, yeah. And she's to the side, just giving it one of those. So she's protecting herself. It's so obvious. I mean, I think she thinks it's obvious. But like you were saying, Greg, she's such a good liar, man. She's so good at this because she's done it her whole life and she's gotten away with it. She's been successful at it. And these are easy to spot once they get to going like that. And I think they saw it early on, and know what they're dealing with. And she's following that same protocol she's been following the whole time. Watch what she does. She'll get that little smile on her face. She'll talk about being honest. Well, now I'm going to tell you what's really happening. You know, here's what really, a lot of that. You know, just out of nowhere. Here, I'm going to tell you now what's happened. Yeah, because they catch her in something. She's got to move out of that. She's got to wiggle out. And that's the way she's getting out of the hold, is squishing out and saying, okay, well, here's what really happened. No, but they still have to. They can't turn up the volume, the wind up to maximum the volume and the aggression on her, because they just want to find out where that child is. That's all they're going for. So I'm sure it's really tough. And she's also back to that duping delight where she's smiling. So this whole thing just it's not sitting well, I don't think, with anybody. But I think they found out early. They decided what was happening early on. It was obvious, and they're just trying to find out what the child is. Chase, what do you got?
Man, y'all took more of my notes.
That's happened to me the last two videos
than ever before. And yeah, I totally agree. And Greg, I have in my notes here.
Oh, look,
story shopping.
Glabella.
Yeah, and that's what's going on.
Exactly that.
And there's still the emotional affect of having done something wrong, like steal a pack of gum, and trying to talk your way out of it. That's the back and forth that we're seeing here. There's nothing here. So there's some narcissism or something else at play here. And some people are naturally less expressive, but when a mother doesn't show concern for a missing child, it's a very bad sign. A very bad sign. About 100% of the time.
337.
And lying to cover your tracks is one thing, but some of Megan's lies didn't even serve a real purpose at all. Some of them were purposeless. So that suggests you may have a deeper problem with compulsive lying. Maybe. She may not just be lying for self-preservation. This could be a long-term behavioral pattern. And some people lie even when they don't need to. And this can stem from a personality disorder, or just a deeply ingrained habit. But from the way she handled the situation, to her history of this, like unstable relationships, and her choices just seemed impulsive and short-sighted. All short-sighted. She wasn't thinking about long-term consequences, just whatever got her out of trouble in this exact moment. So she likely maybe struggles with some impulse control, which could be linked to deeper psychological issues. And people with this kind of pattern usually have a history of making poor decisions without considering the fallout fully. That's all I got, Mark.
Okay. So yeah, I love this piece of you know, we've got all this resource on this. We've got these people in Washington and these people here. Were it me, I'd be going, great, let's get them on camera and because I want to say hello, I want to say thanks to everybody, and so get them let's get them on Zoom now so I can say thanks and call their bluff on that. Anyway, she's not going to do that. And they probably wouldn't allow that to happen anyway. Maybe they do have people there, maybe they don't have people there. Yeah.
One thing I always notice in these videos, and when they say there's all these people coming in to help or send out Amber Alerts, am I seeing embarrassment or gratitude?
Right.
And you're going to see embarrassment so often in cases like this.
Right.
Bella.
No. But that helps me make my point, Chase, because what they're really doing, you could view what they're doing there as going, hey, you could kind of view it as a we know all. You know, look, we've got so much resource on this, you will be found out, so now's your chance to own up.
Why did they...
I think the way I'd like to view this, and this might be conscious on their part, I think it is conscious on their part, I think this is their tack really, is to go, because they say, people.
Why
we've got a lot of people
did they do that?
on this, social pressure. Now, to your earlier point, Greg, we haven't heard that cough laugh from her. I think that cough laugh is an indicator of stress. It's kind of a push-pull. It's pushing away the stress of it and also pulling in the people who she knows she needs to broadcast to. There's the cough to push away and the laugh to pull people in, because when she's on that camera in front of the news, it's friends, it's family, it's society that she's in front of. And Chase, to your point, some people are, you know, they have the persona where, you know, social is going to be really important. For others, not so important. There's certain personality types where it has no importance whatsoever. It just doesn't even resonate at all. I would say we could place with her that how she's perceived by people around her, general society, that's of importance to her. Or at least they are banking on that somewhat to go, look, we've got a lot of people on this.
Not
got a lot of people. I don't want them to perceive you as a bad mum. Okay? So they go, help us, help you be perceived in front of all of these people as really, really good. I think it's a lovely tack. I don't know whether it gets them anywhere, quite honestly. It doesn't. Does it incrementally move them forward? Well, let's see on 7 and 8 whether it does. But it maybe doesn't move them along quickly. But all of that to say, it's a fairly good gamble based on what I've seen with her in the interview videos in front of the camera here. Look, a little bit there about persona theory, which is we perform in different ways in front of different groups. Okay, like me, how I'm being in front of you, panelists, Grizzlies, the guys here. Like, if you come round my house and you sit with me, like, I'm not going to be like this 24/7. It would be awful. Like, you go, Mark, shut up. Like, will you just lower it somewhat? This would be intolerable. But for me, and I think for you, it kind of works for a certain period of time for you and me to get what we need out of this, essentially. But I'm not like this all the time. Now, does that mean I'm being dishonest with you or inauthentic with you? No, not at all. It's just a facet of me that I'm just expanding. You know, when I see, for example, Chase with his mum and dad, it's very much Chase. It's not a lot different from what we're seeing here, but it's enough difference that you go, oh, okay, that's Chase with his mum and dad. Okay, that's not, but I'm not like, well, Chase is a completely different person. But is he exactly the same? No, there's some perceivable differences. But it's not a wholly different character, just like this isn't a wholly different character. It's just an aspect of me kind of amplified to get the job done. What's great about her is seeing what she's doing to get the job done in this situation, in this interview with the interrogators, and what she was doing to get the job done in front of the TV characters.
I need to see
the TV cameras.
the
Same person, just an expanded facet of that. Let's have a look at another.
I'd love to see you being this you when you're like trying to get money, trying to get your money back, like at a donut shop or something. Yeah, because it's a bad donut.
But the awful thing is, Scott, I think I have complained in that manner. I think I have. There are times when I might, where I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to hit that. Absolutely. So it's just like they are being hosed down. They're getting a hose down.
They want enough. Like, I'm out.
Just stop. We'll give you what we want because this is just intolerable.
Yeah, Tracy, I'm going to make you breakfast.
For anybody listening, just as a quick fun fact, the entire behavior panel knows my parents and my grandparents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
And my
lovely
sister.
They are too. And your sister. Very lovely they are.
Your mother just texted me, hand to God, not 4 minutes ago. No. That's what I was looking at.
Are you serious?
She texts Amber. She and Amber text back and forth all the time.
I know it's a unusual relationship, but I love it. I think it's I think it's cool.
She didn't text me, but she does text Amber. They talk
Mrs.
back
Hughes,
and forth.
why'd you never text me? She never texts me, Chase. She never.
She does watch the show. So Mom,
she does watch the show. Yeah.
Please text Mark.
Yeah, please text.
Hi, Mom.
Mrs. Hughes.
Because I feel like it made me look like a bad mom, and I really didn't want like.
Well, look, let me ask you this way. I don't think you've been in there to see how many people we've got. We're not exaggerating. The number of people in there pales in comparison to the number of people on the ground. We have an entire unit in Nashville, Tennessee working on this. We've got an entire unit in Washington, D.C. that's working on this, okay? Those people are stationed in offices. They're controlling people out on the ground. These people got people out on the ground. A bunch of people, okay? You say you think it would make you look like a bad mom, okay, or a bad person or whatever. Why didn't you just tell somebody a month ago, 3 weeks ago? Hey,
The only person I've talked to about it is mom.
Okay.
And she's told me that she's talked to Ethan.
Okay. Why didn't you go to someone? Did you see the extent? I mean, have you passed the billboard that has the Amber Alert on it?
Mm-hmm.
They're all up and down the interstate. I bet I passed 3 coming in this morning. Passed probably 3
I'm telling Bella it's bedtime, 'cause it is bedtime. How did my people do? Good.
People are willing to help.
They got rid of these guys. They are consigned to the bottom of the board. Relegated.
Like I said, I don't know for sure that my mom has an if I didn't, I would just tell you to get over this.
Right now, we've
Bella.
got internet, cell phones, everything. We can give you
I gotta
access
go.
to things
She's
you can